Testing. Can you hear me?
Oh, hey, Commander One, how are you?
Very good, thank you. I'm just testing my my volume right now. So.
Yep, the volume's fine. There we go. Looking good. Long time no see.
Yes, long time no see either. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So, how big is the Burnaby division? How many people do you have in the division?
Well, we have an adult division, which Mr. Ahadzadeh is the superintendent. Right. And I believe Superintendent Ahadzadeh, correct me if I'm wrong, there's about 29 or 30 of you guys, right?
We added 2 more additional people, so right now we are having 31 with 4 and 5 more people joining soon, so hopefully increasing the number.
Well done. Very nice to hear.
Very nice.
Thank you.
And I believe for the cadet division, our Superintendent Raymond Chow, I'm just trying to remember the number. Mr. Lowe or Ms. Huang, do you remember? I think it's like 75, is that right?
I think we are about 65 or 70 in total.
That's both the adults and the cadets?
That's just the cadets.
Just the cadets. Oh my goodness, that's a very good number. Very good. So do you have Zoom meetings, I guess, for your cadets nowadays, because there's no in-person?
Yes, and we have Superintendent Chow who just joined us.
Okay.
Good evening, Commander One.
How are you? Good to see you.
Good. How are you?
It's been a long time since I've seen you. Good to see you again.
I think you were 16 the last time I saw you.
What was that? That's a long time ago.
Okay, we have a bunch of people in the waiting room, and we've got about 2 minutes before we start. I think we're ready to go. Let's admit all. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Richard. It's Farid here. Can you hear me?
Hello, Farid. How are you doing? Good to see you, Colonel.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good.
It's great to have you here again.
Pleasure to be amongst yourselves.
We've got a really good group here. We're just waiting for everyone to jump on in.
I see a familiar face here. Pascal, how are you? Been a long time.
King, how are you? What I want to know is, how do you not age?
I do age.
You
See,
don't.
on my way here, are you still in Halifax with the Maritimes?
Still in Halifax, yeah.
Good to see you.
Staying up late just for you, sir.
I'm hoping to go to Halifax if all things go well this fall for another conference, but that depends on how the health officers tell us whether we can go or not. So we'll see.
Well, we'll definitely have to connect.
Yes. Are you involved with St. John over in Halifax?
I am. I came back to the family 2 years ago.
Oh, good. Oh.
2 years ago. So yeah.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
In here. So yeah, it's great.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Hello, Pascal. How are you?
How are you, sir? How's it going?
Good. I think you and I go back farther than King and I.
Long time, right? Long time.
Yeah.
So when did you join the St. John there, Mr. Chow?
1985.
You predated me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember I was on duty at the Expo 86, so that I knew it was long before 86.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the days we had an annual inspection at the HMCS Discovery. That's
right. We used to host you guys there because, the space and so forth, yeah.
Those were the best. Those were the best annual inspections at Discovery. It was a beautiful spot. It was gorgeous, right? When we could do outside, inside, it was beautiful. Yeah.
It's a good location. Very, and close to town.
Hello, Commissioner Wilder.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello. Welcome. Yes. This is the first time I get to interact with you off Twitter.
No kidding. So from us at Ontario, we say thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here.
Yes. Welcome. And Pascal, all the way from the East Coast.
Told you we're staying up late for King. Like this is he gets people up across the country. Drew, good to see you. How are you, sir?
You're too kind, I guess. I'll keep it short so they can go to bed. Okay? Is it past your bedtime yet?
Almost.
Almost. Okay. Well, 4 hours is a long time. Yes.
I will also say hello to King and thank him for the wonderful note you sent to Ted. I got a copy of it.
Oh, okay.
Welcome, Colonel Rodani.
How do you do, sir?
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hello, Farrell. How are you doing today? Haven't seen you for a long time. And thank you for you. I guess maybe it was Bill Diamond and also Ted Hawthorne that went to the Sailors Memorial on the weekend. Thank you for being there.
Yes, no, I got your note. And I wanted to thank you and to tell you how much we appreciate you, what you do, and how the whole regiment considers you a great friend.
Well, hey, always a friend to the BC regiment.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Mr. Yim, welcome. Good to see you. Pascal, it's great to finally meet you after all the Twitter and conversations we've had. Mr. Wilder, it's great to welcome you as well. And finally, as Mr. Chow had said, after all the Twitter connections, it's always great to meet people even though it's virtual, in person here. So I think this is a wonderful platform to connect everyone in our St. John family. This is, I think, a good opportunity, I think, Mr. Chow, to perhaps start with we've started a new tradition through Zoom to have a little bit of trivia to challenge the mind. So, Mr. Chow, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Well, thank you, Mr. Liu. As we know, we'll start off with a trivia, and it's trivia time, folks. So what we want to do is we want to test to see how much you know about St. John. So tonight's question is, which animal is not named for a youth program? And we have some choices here for you. Badger, dolphin, deer, and panda. So we're going to throw up a poll, and if you'd like to make your selections, that would be great. Alrighty, I think that's enough time. So let's see what the results are, Mr. Liu.
Let's share the results, and the winner is
the dolphin and the deer coming pretty close, but the dolphin came in first. All right, the correct answer is the deer. All right, that's good. So for those who chose the deer, you can help yourself to some ice cream in the freezer. Just hop on downstairs and grab some ice cream. The badger is named for the junior program in the UK. The dolphin is named for the junior program in Kenya, and panda is the junior program in Hong Kong. All right, well done, folks. Over to you, Mr. Liu.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chow. That was very educational. And thank you, Mr. De Leon, in the background there, helping with the slide. It's wonderful to see such a large group here this evening. Well, good evening, everyone. Bonsoir à tous. I'm Richard N. Liu, the Honorary Brigade Division President, and welcome to the pre-event reception, where we have imaginary drinks and canapes. We're grateful to see folks tuning in from across Canada, so allow me to first introduce the host Burnaby team around the table. Mr. Chow and Mr. Ahadzadeh.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us for another edition of our speaker series. We're going to have a really special guest for you tonight, so I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Farhang Ahadzadeh, Divisional Superintendent for Division 304 in Burnaby. I would like to welcome everyone tonight. It's great to meet everybody across Canada. Very much looking forward to tonight's event. Thank you.
Mr. Lowe?
Evening, my name is Tony Lowe. I'm the Leadership Development Officer at Division 389 in Burnaby. Welcome everyone from across Canada. Thanks for joining us again this week.
Ms. Huang and Ms. Ho are dynamic duo.
Good evening. My name is Eva Ho, and I'm an officer. I hope everyone have a good night.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Monday meeting. Special series guest. I'm the training officer of the Cadet Division 389 based in Burnaby.
Thank you. Mr. Liu, Mr. Vincent Liu.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Vincent Liu. I'm a CSA of Cadet 389. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Mr. De Leon.
Hi, good day, everyone. My name is Ian De Leon. I do special training here at the brigade, and I also run these events here in the background. Hopefully, everybody's going to have a really fun and special experience here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. De Leon. I see our NCOs, Corporal Yip.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Corporal Anna Yip from Division 389.
Corporal Chen.
Hello, everyone. I am Corporal Carmen Chen. It's a pleasure to have everyone here this evening, and I'm looking forward to tonight's event.
Thank you very much, Corporal Chen. I see some from the brigade team, Mr. Yim.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the series. I'm the Lower Mainland Area Commissioner. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Yim. I see Ms. Froment.
Hi, everyone. Name's Celine Froment. I'm the Area Administrative Officer for Lower Mainland Fraser Valley. It's nice to see so many friendly faces and looking forward to tonight's talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Froment. And let's see. So many screens going on. Here, let's introduce our guest speaker, but please keep it short because we're going to hear from you. Mr. Commander Wan.
Okay, my name is King Wan, a former St. John person. I have been involved with St. John for a number of years, but I have retired from the council about 2 years ago. So I'm very pleased to be invited back to talk to you. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Commander Wan. Lieutenant Colonel Farid Rohani.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's great to be among such great people, and Commander King, Juan, a friend, and many others. I'm very proud to be here amongst you guys, and thank you for all you do. Hats off to you all.
Thank you, sir. Great to have you here as always. Right next to him, I see Commissioner Wilder.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, and we say hello from Ontario. It's so nice to be included with Commander Wan tonight. This is certainly our pleasure. Thank you.
Great to have you here, sir.
Thank you.
Right next to him is Pascal.
All right, good thing I was going to introduce myself. Pascal Rodier. I've been involved with St. John Ambulance since, 1984. And from BC originally, retired, moved to the East Coast, and I'm in Halifax and back with St. John here. So.
Well, great to have you here, Pascal. Greetings all the way to Halifax. Wow. Right beside him is Chief Ajmal.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. Hello from Toronto, Central 001. Thank you for having me once again, and I look forward to tonight's presentation.
It's great to have you here. Okay, from PHQ, I see Rahul. Hey, Rahul, you want to give a quick introduction?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Rahul Rajanala. I'm actually from the provincial headquarters. I am from the Community Services Fund Development. But as you know, my title is pretty long, Fundraising Event Promotion Specialist. I see lots of new faces. Hello to everyone from all of Canada, and glad to be here. Back to you.
Thanks, Rahul. It's always great to have you here. Right next to him, I see one of our community partners, Winnie Chung is here.
My name is Winnie Chang. Tonight I am representing P6C Museum of Migration Society, which is a partner with St. John's on our From Far and Wide Pacific Canada Stories. And it's our pleasure to be here, and I look forward to listening to King's presentation.
It's great to have you here, Winnie. Okay, and I see someone from the adult division, is that correct? Richard Henderson?
Hi everyone, my name is Rich Henderson. I'm the logistics officer of Division 304 in Burnaby. Great to be here and see everybody tonight.
Great to have you here, Rich. And next to him is Tony Tang.
Hi everybody, good evening. I'm Tony Sang, joining St. John just recently and have been approved into the family. I'm looking forward to watching Amanda Wang's presentation tonight. Hi to everybody.
Great to see you, Tony. Thanks for joining us.
Likewise.
I see some other faces here I haven't seen before. I see a Samantha Saw.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha. Really glad to be here today to listen to Commander Wan's speech, and it's really nice meeting everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. And right next to her, I see Parmita.
Hello everyone, my name is Parmita. I am a potential new member, and it's really great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's great to have you here. Thanks, Parmita. Okay, and I see two more here from UBC, I believe. Yes, Megan Yim.
Hi, my name is Megan Yim, and I'm from Division 998.
Oh, great to have you here, Megan. Miss Yim, I mean, sorry. And then next to her, I see Diana Hong, also from UBC.
Hi, my name is Diana Hong, and I'm Division 998. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you here. This is probably one of the largest groups we've had, so we're just kind of going through multiple screens. And Corporal Ma, I think I just saw you joining in. You wouldn't want to do a quick introduction of yourself?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Corporal Ma, and I'm a part of the training team. It's nice to meet everyone.
Thank you, Corporal Ma. It's great to have you here. And last but not least is our Provincial Commissioner, David Valentine.
Good evening, everybody. Friends from across the country. I apologize for being in working clothes. I'm currently volunteering at the Enderby vaccination clinic, and I just this moment got back to my hotel. So thank you for including me as well.
Thank you, sir. It's great to have you here as always. So before we kick things off, we would like to take this opportunity to take a virtual group photo. So please keep smiling for us for the moment, as we will have a few screens to capture. So if you just kind of look straight ahead, and I'll just count to 3, and then just keep smiling as long as possible. Okay, 3, 2, 1. So let's begin the official program. Mr. Ahadzadeh, over to you.
Happy Asian Heritage Month, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting and engaging speaker series. I'm Farhang Ahadzadeh, Divisional Superintendent for the Adult Division 304, based here in Burnaby, BC. Before we begin, I invite the members to keep their headrests on and remain seated. Please keep your mics muted, especially when our special guest is speaking. And if you have any questions, please raise your digital hands. Thank you. I would like to now invite our Honorary Brigade Division President, Mr. Richard N. Liu, to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Ahadzadeh. Good evening, everyone, and yes, happy Asian Heritage Month. If you haven't seen our previous events, you can find them all on our growing YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button down here and hit that bell to be notified when we're posting new videos up there. If you're new to this channel, you can always navigate our videos easily with the timestamp chapters in the video description below. Now, before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that and recognize that our division is proudly based here in this diverse city of Burnaby, which is located on the ancestral and unceded homelands of the Coast Salish, particularly the Hokominam and Squamish-speaking peoples. We are grateful for the opportunity to present the speaker series on this shared territory tonight. Mr. Chow, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Good evening, everyone. My name is Raymond Chow, and I'm the Divisional Superintendent of St. John Ambulance Cadet Division 389C in Burnaby. We're located right next door to Vancouver. We are quite excited to begin the evening today with a warm message from our new CEO of St. John Ambulance BC and Yukon, Mr. Speer, with some community partners. Mr. De Leon, if you please, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Speer, the newly appointed CEO for St. John Ambulance BC and Yukon. It's a great pleasure to meet you all, and I'd like to thank you for inviting me to do the opening remarks for this wonderful initiative. I had the pleasure of crossing paths with St. John Ambulance in Australia and the UK, and it's a real pleasure to join the team here in Canada. I'm on a mission to help us grow our organization and grow the contributions that we can make to our community. And I'm looking forward to doing that with the team here. I'd like to send my greetings to Commander King R1, retired, who's garnered many titles and achievements, including being our past provincial commissioner here at St. John Ambulance BCY. As I've recently joined the SJA family, I'm thrilled to be here to learn about his experiences and hear all the stories he has to share. Thank you to the Burnaby Division for continuing to hold this wonderful speaker series for not just our youth, but for members of our SJA community and beyond.
Thank you, St. John Ambulance, for the important service you provide to the community by producing the monthly speaker series, which showcase experiences that transform others for the better. May is Asian Heritage Month in Canada, and the Exploration Festival is in its 25th year of promoting inclusion, understanding, and appreciation for Pan-Asian Canadian arts, culture, and heritage. Congratulations to Commander Retired King Wan for his excellent work in the many roles he has played in the Canadian Armed Forces, as well as for his generous service to the community. We have much to learn from you, Commander Wan. Thank you, St. John Ambulance, for the opportunity to join you all today. It is only by coming together that we fight hate and discrimination.
Happy Asian Heritage Month. I am Wendy Yip, President of Pacific Canada Heritage Centre Museum of Migration Society and UBC Ambassador. Congratulations to St. John Ambulance Burnaby Division. I also salute retired Commander King Wan, a UBC alumnus and an exemplary community leader serving the Royal Canadian Navy, St. John Ambulance, the Chinese Canadian Military Museum, and many other organizations. I remember the heartwarming feeling I had when I first saw Commander Wan, an Asian Canadian, serving as honorary aide-de-camp to Her Honor, Lieutenant Governor Janet Austin. It signaled that Canada has become more inclusive. But racism remains, and we must continue to celebrate the diversity of Canadians. I encourage St. John Ambulance to share its stories with PCHC, particularly those of World War II veterans. Thank you.
Thank you for those wonderful messages. What I would like to know from our guest, before we begin, what I'd like to know from our guest is how he's able to squeeze 72 hours of a day when everybody has 24. It seems like Commander Wan has his limited amount of hours to work with. But I'm gonna throw up some pictures there, and we're gonna show you some memory lane. So if you please, Mr. De Leon. Here's a picture of me with the Governor General, Leticia. And back in 1983, Commander Juan and I, we were both invested in the Order of St. John in Ottawa. The trip was quite memorable as the ceremony took place in the Notre Dame Cathedral. We had a reception at Riddell Hall. And the next one, I think Commander Juan will get a kick out of. And that's St. John House. We also had a reception at St. John House. This was St. John House in Ottawa. So that's the national headquarters back then. And sadly, it doesn't exist anymore, but it was a great time. And I think Commander Juan will attest that it was a really special trip. So I was also going over some old files, and I came across this St. John Ambulance Response Plan in Time of Disaster. I think Commander Juan will probably recognize this document. And in this, Commander Juan was the provincial administration officer at the time. But as I was flipping through this document, I just want to show you this one page. This basically is a page of all the phone numbers. And all I can see here is home phone, office phone, and cell phone or pager. And out of the whole list, only 5 people had cell phones back then. So it was amazing how we were able to communicate with the rollout if something happens, given all the technology we have these days with WhatsApp, with text, Zoom, Facebook, and everything else. Back then, it was just the telephone. So I'm really impressed at how far we've come. Anyways, those were really good times. And thank you for indulging me in a trip back to memory lane. I would like now to invite Commissioner David Valentine to welcome and introduce our next guest, Commander King Juan. Commissioner Valentine, sir.
Thank you, Raymond. Well, King, we've come a long way together. It's my absolute pleasure tonight to introduce King. Our careers have somewhat followed each other at different times. Both of us were in the Navy. Mind you, I was a lower decker at the time. That means I was not an officer. And we both are in the commissioner role for St. John Ambulance, BC, Yukon. And we've also been serving lieutenant governors since the late 1980s. 4 or 5 each now, I think it is. Is that right, King?
I started in the late 80s, and it's my 6th lieutenant governor now.
Yeah, this is my 5th, so we're catching up to you there. But King comes with so many credentials and so much experience behind his name. If I was to go through his whole CV, we'd probably still be here listening to me at 10 o'clock tonight. So I'm not going to do that. I'm looking forward to the question of the night, which will come up later, as we all know who have been here before. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Commander Retired King Juan, one of my good friends and also a good friend to St. John.
Thank you very much, David. Very kind words talk about me. And, I'm one who doesn't like to talk about myself. So the format tonight will be somewhat different. And thank you for the invitation to speak to all of you during this month, the Asian Heritage Month. I'm a student of history, and some of you here tonight have a lot more, educated the history, like Winnie Chung with the museum and other places. But I would like to share the journey of many of the Chinese Canadian over the last 200 years in this country. I think that you can talk about me later on when you ask questions, but I want to focus my presentation this evening about the Chinese Canadian who came to Canada over the last 200 years. So bear with me. It may be a history lesson, and I'll try to keep it sort of interesting. And for those of our friends over in Halifax, 4 hours difference of 11 o'clock. So I don't want to pass your bedtime. So I'll be as quick as I can. Okay, Pascal? Okay. Now, we enjoy the lives that we have in Canada. And it is due to the struggles and sacrifices of our forefathers and foremothers over those years. Today, we have many successful Chinese Canadian, and we all stand on their shoulders because of what they've done for all of us. So tonight, I want to honor and speak on the history of their lives and that brought us to where we are today. There will be an opportunity for you at the end of the presentation to ask questions, and I will be very happy to answer them at that time. Here's a brief history of the Canadian Chinese in Canada. Over 200 years ago, the first Chinese landed on the west coast of Canada, and throughout time, the Chinese immigrants have integrated into society and made a significant contribution to the growth and prosperity of multicultural Canada. They have formed a partnership with other ethnic groups to build a better future for Canadians. I will provide a brief history of the migration, integration, and contribution of these new Canadians. In 1788, Captain John Mears, a British fur trader, recruited 50 Chinese smiths and carpenters from Macau and Guangzhou, which is Canton, to Canada. They came on ship to the Nootka Sound area on Vancouver Island, where they helped to build a small fortress and also a small schooner. Now, that's the first record of Chinese coming from overseas to Canada. The craftsmanship and the work and the diligence they had done impressed Captain Mears impressively. And so that he indicated in his memoir that if there are further trading posts to be built, he would definitely import these people to come here to help them. So Chinese labor was nearly indispensable in opening the virgin land of British Columbia. In 1858, gold was discovered in the lower Fraser Valley. In 1857, the year previously. In the following year, thousands of Chinese came to BC from San Francisco, arriving to Victoria by boat. And some after, more Chinese laborers came directly from Hong Kong to Victoria to seek a better life. And their idea was to go to the Gold Mountain, dig gold, and return home. Now, during these pioneer days, shortage of labor forced the colonial government to rely on the Chinese contractor to recruit Chinese laborers to build trails, to build wagon roads, drain the swamps, dig ditches, and engage in other sorts of back-breaking labor. In the 1870s, the picture you see here is the Chinese cemetery in Kamloops. Since that time, this cemetery has been rebuilt by the local people in Kamloops, and it's a much nicer place now. But again, having so many Chinese in Canada or in BC, sentiments were against these sort of people who are of a different race. And in the late 1860s and in the 1870s, politicians such as Noah Speer, Arthur Bunster, John Robson, and others, they exploited the anti-Chinese prejudice and to inflame the people about their undesirability in BC. So in 1875, BC passed a law to disallow Chinese to vote in any of the provincial elections. Now, cities and townships in BC followed, and basically they disenfranchised the Chinese on the elections. Now, to give you a bit of perspective, at that time of the gold rush, Barkerville and other places were populated majority by Chinese laborers and Chinese gold prospectors. And what was in the fear of the white settlers was that they would be able to vote and control the cities and townships and that was they were afraid of. And so in the 1880s, there's a second influx of Chinese coming to BC, and that is in response to the labor demands in the building of the Canadian Pacific Railway. Between 1881 and 1885, Sir John A. Macdonald, Canada's first prime minister, remarked that without the Chinese laborer, the word would be there will be no railway. And by 1882, of the 9,000 men who worked on the railways, 6,500 were Chinese. Hundreds of the Chinese laborers died from the accidents, winter colds, and illness due to malnutrition. Now, as you know, the hardest part of the BC Canadian Pacific Railway was in BC. They had to, build tunnels, go on the mountainside, and there's a lot of Chinese being put into those jobs where it's most dangerous. They had to blast the mountains, blast the area to build tunnels, and as they say, for every mile of the railway, 2 Chinese died because of the work that they do. So it was a very difficult time for them, but they persisted. They were hardworking people. Now, here's a picture of, I guess, the museum in Lillooet. At the time, BC in the era, maybe 11,000 people of the Chinese descent living over 20 cities and townships. What had happened was that Victoria, Chinatown, with a population of over 1,700, was the largest in the province, followed by Chinatown of New Westminster and then Nanaimo. Victoria's Chinatown at the time was a self-contained community with Chinese school, hospitals, temples, theaters, and associations. It was also the import-export center for Chinese communities. Now, this picture here is located in the interior. As you can imagine, during the gold rush, there was a lot of, also when the railroad was built, a lot of people will disperse all over the tracks of the railway from Alberta all the way down to Vancouver. So there's a lot of Chinese that were building the railroad along the ways. Now, of course, they were not paid the same as the white laborers, but at the same time, they worked very hard. And even though they were somewhat excluded from the recognition they were supposed to gain, they were able to work very closely with the First Nations people. And you can see a good number of the Chinese laborers had intermarriage into the First Nations folks. And maybe David would know, a previous Lieutenant Governor Stephen Point has an uncle. He would say that I would go to my uncle's place on the weekend and we have Chinese food because his uncle was part Chinese. So again, the interracial marriage was very common because the fact that no other community would accept the Chinese laborers. So the First Nations people took them in. And even in Vancouver, the Musqueam, the band, the Grant, they also half Chinese as well too. So there's a lot of connection between ourselves, the Chinese Canadians, and the First Nations people. In 1885, on the completion of the CPR, the government passed the Chinese Immigration Act and levied 50 heck tax on any Chinese coming to Canada. Now, that was to deter and to prevent further Chinese immigration into this country. By imposing this tax on Chinese immigration, the federal government was trying to discourage and restrict Chinese from coming to Canada. The head tax was raised to $100 in 1900 and $500 in 1903. The great increase had one immediate effect upon the Chinese immigration. Only 8 people were immigrated into Canada from China in 1905, and only 22 in the following year. However, owing to the economic disparity between China and Canada, the number of the Chinese immigrations to Canada continued to increase. There's a sentiment that they do not want to have Chinese in Canada. And as a result, in 1907, there was an anti-Asian riot in Chinatown, in Japantown. And some of the reasons for that was that when that happened, it was over a couple of days from September 7 to September the 9, 1907. At about that time, there were simmering of anti-Asian riots in San Francisco, Bellingham, and other West Coast cities in North America as part of the, I guess, a wider Pacific Coast race riots of that year. Now, agitation for such a direct action against the Chinese and Japanese and other Asian population was led by labor unions and small businesses because they felt that they were taken over by these people from afar. So the simmering anti-Asian sentiments persisted, and by 1923, despite the harsh political and social and economic conditions in Canada, Chinese immigrants managed to raise a second generation after the 1923, when the federal government decided there's no more Chinese to be accepted into Canada. The only exceptions would be if you are a clergyman, you are a businessman or merchant, you are a diplomat, or you're a student. Other than that, you cannot come to Canada. So from my experience and knowing a lot of the old Chinese and Chinese veterans, there's one Chinese veteran who is now 97, 98 years old. His mother went back to China to attend to, I guess, her father's funeral, and she was unable to come back. So this young child did not see his mother for 27 years until she was able to come back after the war. So those are the harsh situations for many of the Chinese that were living in Canada at the time. Now, despite the harsh conditions that they lived in, the Chinese immigrants managed to raise a second generation of Chinese Canadian. However, the next generation who were raised and educated in Canada was not immune from discrimination. They were also denied the right of citizenship and the right to work in many of the professions such as medicine, pharmacy, engineering, law. When the Second World War came, back in about 1939, see, these are some of the young Chinese youth in the 20s when they were able to form their own club, and in fact they did quite well in Vancouver. They won the soccer championship, and the Japanese had a very strong strong baseball team, and they won many local championships. So when the war came in 1939, 1940, the Canadian government initially did not want them to join up because they felt that if they were to join up in the service, they would be demanding more rights. But the thing is, many of the Chinese youth at the time, they were born and raised here. They felt there's a belonging, and they were loyal to Canada. So what they did was that they volunteered to sign up to be in the armed forces. Initially, the government did not want them, and they were denied entry into the military. But as you know, the war went on, and they needed manpower. So many of the recruiters, the further east they go, they would accept them into the service. But officially, there was no, policy for them to join. However, as you know, on December the 7th, 1941, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. At the same time, the very next day, they also invaded Singapore and Hong Kong. As a result, the British were not able to infiltrate some of these, occupied territories. As you know, the British have the special secret, group of people they're operated in Europe, where they can infiltrate quite easily. But in Asia, if you are a white person, you will not be able to become infiltrator or be a spy in that area. So the British government impressed upon the Canadian government to start recruiting Chinese Canadians, because they knew that the Chinese Canadians in Canada were from southern part of China. They can speak the language. They look like the people there. And so they were able to bring them into the armed forces so that they can be trained and be sent overseas to work in Asia. Now, by that time, there were quite a few Chinese already working in all branches of the armed forces, Air Force, Navy, and in the Army. The Navy was one of the ones that did not want non-white person to join the Navy, but we managed to have one person, Bill Law, who was from Victoria, but was working with the Department of Communications. He was quite efficient in what he does. So he was actually sent and became an officer and was assigned to work with the Royal Navy in Asia. And at the same time, we also have this young Chinese youth formed into this Force 136. You probably heard the name. And their role was to form small units to do sabotage work in Burma, in Southeast Asia. So that was part of the story. And so after the war, when they came back from the conflict, they were saying, well, here we are. We can fight and die for the country. Why are we not given the same right as the other Canadians? We cannot vote, even though we went to school, to university, get our degrees in engineering, a degree in law, in medicine. We could not practice because we're not citizens. And as a result, they petitioned the government, the federal government, for them to be able to be given the franchise to vote. And that is when they were given the opportunity to do so. Now, there's another catch to that, and that is, of course, they enacted the Citizenship Act in Canada in 1947, which gives everybody the right to be full citizens. But at the same time, it was also the fact that the United Nations was formed, and Article 15 of the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the UN conferred upon every individual everywhere in the world the right to have a legal connection with the state. That means that they have to have a nationality, they have to have citizenship. So part of that reason, Canada changed its Citizenship Act, and as a result, the Chinese were given the full right to be full citizens, where now they can practice law, become engineers, and become doctors and pharmacists. So we owe a lot to the veterans for what they've done for all of us, to give us the right to be a part of society. So 1947, when the act was introduced and passed, and that was when Mackenzie King who became the first so-called Canadian citizen. Now, there's another story to that, that there is a lot of debate whether people were actually Canadian before the act was enacted back in 1947. That's another time I will talk about that, maybe in the future. But there's some debate as to how that's happening. So anyway, that is what happened there. And because of the Citizenship Act, the people now in Canada, be it Chinese, Japanese, South Asians, are able to become fully franchised, can vote and become the part of society, to contribute to the society. So what happened was that after 47, the family who were broken apart couldn't see the family, were able to come back from Asia, or people who at one time that came to Canada couldn't bring the family, were able to do so. And as a result, too, further down the road, there's a lot of changes to the immigration law, where immigration was based on your qualification, the point system. So over the years, a lot of the immigrants came with a lot of skills. And also in the 1980s, there was also the act to bring in business immigrants with the investments. And as a result, because of that, many of the Chinese now can become fully functional contributor to our society. And here are a few names. Look at we had some celebrated Chinese Canadian, Adrian Clarkson, who became the Governor General. Douglas Zhang, you might have heard of him. He was the first Chinese Canadian to be a member of Parliament, and he was a World War II veteran, Force 136, who went overseas to Asia to fight. David Lam, one of the, I guess, lieutenant governors of British Columbia, he was, I guess, he came to Canada and served the country well, gave a lot of donations to charities and so forth. We also have Randall Wong. Randall Wong is now the current president of the Chinese Canadian Military Museum. He is the first Chinese judge appointed, and he served 50 years on the Supreme Court of BC. Norman Kwan, Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, he used to play for the BC Lions, and he also was quite well known, and sadly he's passed away. And of course, Robert Lee, former Chancellor of UBC. His daughter, Carol Lee, is also quite involved in the Chinatown development. And so these are fairly well-known Chinese Canadians. I'm not to discount other who have made a lot of contributions to Canada, but these are some of the few that I want to bring to your attention, that they have done a lot for our country. You know, over the years, once they were given the full citizenship, they want to serve the country. We got people like who became city councillor, became mayors of country. Like in BC, we had the Kamloops, where the mayor, Peter Wing, in the, I guess, 1960s. And he was there in Kamloops. And there was also councillors in Victoria. We have people who ran for MLAs, who are members of parliament. And so those are people that who now been able to make a contribution to these countries of ours. So I think that we must not forget the heritage. And to me, it is important for us to not to forget where we came from, who the forefathers and foremothers had done to help us to become who we are today. So I want you to know that. And in this month of the Asian Heritage Month, I think that even though some of you heard of the story before, it is not to forget of their contributions and the sacrifice that gave us today's quality of life that we have. So anyway, that is my spiel. I don't want to belabor any more of the presentation itself, but I do wanted to say that I'm more than happy to answer any questions. You can now shoot questions at me about what I've done in my short life. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander Guan.
Yes, hi.
That was a very informative presentation. Actually recall my memory about when I studied the Chinese Canadian history a couple of years ago. You see the pictures and introduce the story back then. I am the Divisional Training Officer of the Division 389, Garfield Huang. I heard that you are ready for the questions from our cadets.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. And now I'd like to invite Kopo-Yip to present our first questions. Kopo-Yip, please go ahead.
Good evening, Commander Wan.
Hi.
My name is Corporal Yip, and tonight I would like to ask you, when people talk about racism or discuss racism currently, Asian Canadians aren't usually the first thing that pops into people's heads when you talk about minorities and the struggles they face. And I would like to ask you, why do you think this is, and what do you think we can do to educate and bring awareness to the issues that surround the Asian Canadian community?
Yeah, a very good question, and thanks for asking. I think that within the colored or the ethnic minority, we all sometime in our life have faced, racism to some degree. We have a civil society, but I think that under the veneer of a thin veneer of civility, there's always, I guess, innate or inherent, the prejudice and biases. We all have biases, but I think that in order for us to minimize that effect, we need to educate people, and that is why I did tonight's presentation about history, about what went on, what came before us. I think that education is key. Being a member of the Museum Society, I was quite keen to, educate and to share the knowledge with the mainstream, because even within the Chinese community or other South Asian community, some of the younger generation do not know much of the history before them. And I think that is important to understand and to learn about it. If we don't learn from our past, we cannot move into the future with some certainty as to where we've been. And I think that is important for me. And that is why I picked tonight to, again, not being a school teacher, but try to share some of the history with all of you, because even a lot of the young Chinese youth, they do not know the history of the Chinese struggles and the sacrifices before they're being here. So I think that it is important for us to remember and to learn from our past.
Thank you, Commander.
Hello, Commander Wan. I am Corporal Carmen Chen.
Hi.
And I would like to ask you, what was it like in the Reserve Officer University Training Plan program?
Interestingly, when I signed up for that program many years ago, I'm an old timer, you see. I really enjoyed my time there, because at that time there weren't that many, Asians and ethnic members in the organization. I, as you know, I was in Sea Cadets before I joined the Naval Reserve, so I enjoy sailing, and going to sea is one of the joys that I really miss nowadays. And to me, any day at sea is a good Navy day in my view. But at the same time, there's a lot of hard work. You have to earn your keeps. And as a seagoing officer, the challenge is great, because you have to be on top of your game, because you're given charge of the vessel or the ship and the people working for you. Their life and safety is on your shoulders. You have to be diligent and to be able to exercise your knowledge in navigation, seamanship, and sea fighting. So it has been a good experience for me. I would not, if I had to do it over again, I would do it over again myself. So it was hard work, but it's worth it.
Thank you, Commander Wan.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, Commander. I am Squad Leader Chen. I'd like to ask, what's your favorite leadership role and why?
I'm sorry? What?
What's your favorite leadership role that you were?
Yeah, okay. To me, a leader, I'm what they call a servant leader. I serve my people. As a leader, my role is to serve my community. Even with people working with me or for me, I serve them. To me, that is the most important thing. You don't look after your people, then they'll look after you as well. So I think it's a two-way street. As leaders in the cadet movement or in the St. John Ambulance, we're there to serve the community. And I think that we also want to make sure that we serve our own members. With that in mind, I think that it works both ways, and that what you do will have the same effect of people serving you as well. So, yeah, servant leader, that is my key.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Commander.
Hi, how are you, Jaylee?
Good, how are you?
Good.
My name is Corporal Jaylee Ma. My question for you tonight is, in what ways do you shed light on the Chinese Canadian community's past?
I think that each one of us is a leader. We have a role to play. If you set good examples for yourself, other people will notice that, And if you do good deeds, people will say, oh, I think that's a good way of doing what that person is doing for himself, herself, or for the community. So I think that we have to always look at it from the perspective, what effect, what kind of influence do I have on other people of the things that I do? So you look at yourself, it's a self-assessment of, am I doing the right thing? Am I being truthful? Am I being honest? Am I being helpful to my community? So I think that if you take it from that perspective and behave and work in that manner, you'll find that you will do well in society. You'll be doing well for not only yourself, for your family and for your community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Commander.
Hi.
I'm Sarah Butler. My question for you is, with your involvement in the Chinese Canadian Military Museum, why do you think it is important to educate and bring awareness to the history of Chinese Canadians and the discriminations that the community has faced in the past and present?
People behave the way they behave because they don't have an understanding of the other people's situation. To me, being in a museum or being in a situation where I can educate other people about ourselves, about our community, about the Chinese community, or if I was a South Asian person myself, I would like to share my my culture with them, because understanding is key in all that we do in the world. If you are always looking at things from one perspective and not opening up to see from others' point of view, I think that you're losing a lot of the essence of understanding. And a lot of the conflict in the world is people misunderstand each other. And I think that you see that in a lot of conflicts, negotiation, talking, and discussing things in a calm and a collected manner is most important. People go to war because either they are ambitious or they don't understand why people do what they do. And I think that understanding the other person's point of view will be most helpful for everyone to be able to help the world that we live in today. And I truly believe in that. And the museum is a venue, and it's also a vehicle for us to teach others. And I've been preaching to a lot of people of the Chinese community, but we want to reach out to the other ethnic group, to the white community, to the South Asian community, to the other community, so that we all understand each other. And the more we do that, the more we can work and live in harmony.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Commander Juan.
Hi.
It's Corporal Yip again. As we have heard of Provincial Commissioner Valentine's experiences and explanation of being the honorary aide-de-camp to the Lieutenant Governor, I'm interested in hearing what you enjoy, or what are some things that you have taken away from also being honorary aide-de-camp to the Lieutenant Governor.
I should let David answer this question. No, I think that Dave and I both enjoyed it very much. I think that, as you know, an honorary aide-de-camp is an appointment from Government House. Each of the appointment is a personal invitation from the Lieutenant Governor to the person or the aide-de-camp to be a member of the household. I think that, and of course, that the term ends at each of the Lieutenant Governor's term when they finish. So usually when they're done, you send in your letter saying that thank you very much for the honor to serve you, and it's been a pleasure. But if the ensuing Lieutenant Governor would like to have you stay on because of your service, you stay on. So when I started with Dr. Lam back in the 80s, so I was very lucky and very fortunate that each succeeding Lieutenant Governor asked me to stay on to serve. So when I hung up my Navy uniform in 2012, I said, fine, I've done, at that time, I guess, for lieutenant governor at that time. I said, well, I did over 20 somewhat years in the service. It is time for some younger person to take over. So I left. And then lo and behold, a year or 2 years later, I was asked by government house would you mind coming back to serve the lieutenant governor? I said, well, I'm always at the command of the lieutenant governor. And if she wants me to come and serve, I will definitely serve the crown. And I returned to the cadre of the AdeC camps. And so when Judith asked me to come, I was very pleased to work with her. She's a lovely lady. And then when Janet Austin took over as lieutenant governor, I was asked to stay on. So here I am, one of the, been a long time. But I really enjoy what I do because the job that we do is there, again, is to serve the community, to honor the crown and honor the office of the highest, I guess, position in the province. And I'm sure that David and I will share the same feeling about what a pleasure and an honor to be able to serve in that capacity. Yeah.
Thank you, Commander.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Commander.
Hi, how are you?
With so many volunteer roles, has there been any time when you thought that it's kind of like too much for you to handle, and how would you balance your activities?
Yes, and yes again. No, I think that the best way to deal with it is to say, how much time do you have? Now, I might have done a lot of the service to different organizations. However, it's over a number of years. So you have to judge your personal time, and maybe 2 to 3 activities at a time is all you can handle. So I might have done so many things, but I'm an old timer, you see. I've done those things over the time. So I might have 2 or 3 at that particular moment, but you have to be able to function effectively in what you do. I would not accept a request to serve or to do something not knowing that I can handle it. I think that is important because it is no point of getting involved in something where you cannot provide the best of your ability, the service rendering the organization. I think that is important. So they always say that if you want something done, as a busy person. Well, I think that people like David and Richard and others would know if you get involved in so many things, you probably can handle it because you know what you can do, and because you want to do it and you have the ability to handle it. So I know what you're saying, and remember, do not overextend yourself. Leave some time for yourself as well. That is most important. You need some time off to ensure that you recharge your batteries so that when you go back to serving your organization, your community, you'll be fully engaged.
Hello, Commander Juan. It's me again, Corporal Carmen Chen.
Yes.
Yes, so as you served over 35 years in the Naval Reserves, what was the most memorable experience you had?
I think that I really enjoyed going to sea. I think that for every sailor who actually joined the Navy, there has to be some attraction. Sure, it's a lot of hard work. I enjoy traveling, going overseas, and I was very fortunate in what I do. I was able to go on both East and West Coast. I served, I went to a lot of the training with the Americans, and both in San Diego, Norfolk, San Francisco, and other places. I was on about 8 or 9 NATO cruises overseas to Europe, in the harsh winter up to Norway, to Iceland, in the mid-Atlantic, in the full-scale, storm, going to the Mediterranean. So going to sea, seeing the world, and working hard really is, to me, it's not work, it's a pleasure. And I was, one regret that I tell myself, I never been to south of the equator with the Navy. So I just couldn't get away from my work. It's whenever you do that, you could take about 2 or 3 months off, and having a civilian job, I can only do about a month at the most. So anyway, going to sea, I enjoy sailing and enjoy the people that I'm with. And I still got friends from across Canada. So every city I have a friend that I can go visit and they can come see me as well. So that is the best part.
Thank you, Commander Wan. Okay, I think that was all the questions that we had from the NCOs. I will pass it back to Ms. Huang.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Corporal Chen. I believe Squad Leader Lau has a question for Commander Wan also. Please go ahead, Squad Leader Lau.
Good evening, Commander. I'm Squad Leader Lau, and I would like to ask, out of your volunteering experiences, which one has been the most meaningful to you?
I think that I enjoy them all. And the reason I say that is that if I did not enjoy what I do, I would not even bother, becoming a member or part of that. So you have to be selective in what you want to get yourself involved in. If you don't have your heart and soul into it, then why do you want to be a part of that? Why do you want to spend time doing something that you don't enjoy? So to me, the work that I participate in, because I believe in it, I want to be a part of it. I want to share my experience and contribute to that particular event or organization per se. So it is important for you to be fully engaged in what you do. Otherwise, I would say that do not get involved in something that you do not think that you can, put your heart into it or serve to the best of your ability. So that is my personal take on it and my advice to all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Commander Wan. Thank you for answering our cadets' questions. Now I'd like to know any of our friends in the room have questions for Commander Wan also. You may have your digital hand raised or just unmute yourself and speak out loud. Oh, looks like we have a shy group tonight. Okay, I'm going to count it 3,
Okay,
2.
I'm not shy. I'm not shy.
Oh no, Pascal, you can ask questions.
I am far from shy. And King, I'm still up at midnight listening to you, so that's pretty.
Thank you. Thank you for your attendance.
I think, and I mean, there's a couple of us that go back a long ways, and as I said, it amazes me that you don't age a bit. So
I sure do.
And while I appreciate you identifying as a servant leader, I think you need to identify as twice a citizen, as Churchill said, because the amount that you've done for Queen and country is magnificent. Taking it to the serious note and loving your presentation and loving the presentation of the history, not appreciating the negative part of the history that unfortunately is shown in Canada. With the amount of youth that are on here tonight, looking back at your career, and you've done a tremendous career at multiple levels, what advice can you give them? Because sadly, we still see this today. Sadly, we're seeing it almost a resurgence lately with the crap we're seeing across the country and in Canada and the United States with what's happened in the over the last year. What advice? What's the best advice? Because obviously, as rewarding of careers you've had, you must have been faced with some adversity because of your heritage. What advice can you give to the amazing youth that we have on here tonight? And not even the youth, we've got some older ones too, but especially the youth that sadly may still be facing this today. And it's horrible to think that, but what's the advice to weather those storms that you could give them based on what you had? So
let me tell a story about this Japanese lady. This older Japanese lady was sent to the internment camp in World War II as a young girl at the time. So, and then, she endured a lot of the discriminations and another thing, that prejudice against her and so forth. She survived. And then over the years, with the opening up of Canada and more understanding about the different cultures, she felt that she was able to live a peaceful life. And of course, the last couple of years, she again endured the fact that people are still very much harbor this subversive, hatred for Asians. She felt kind of sad about it. I think that for us who are of a, so I should use the word color or ethnic background that is visible minority per se, is that we have to speak up, because a lot of the Asian of the older generation, they say, well, let's just let's just keep it just for ourselves. But I think the younger generation do not understand that, because the older generation, when they were growing up, they were under extreme circumstances where they were not being treated equally, and then they had to fight to get to where they were. They had to go fight to Canada. They would have go fight for the right to get a citizenship. So there was a saying: one war, two victories. One war meaning the war against the Nazis in World War II. Two victories. The same war, they had to fight another one to gain a second victory, and that is to gain the full franchise right to be being treated equally. The younger generation today come from a different background. They've grown up in a very in a society where there's supposed to be no difference in terms of myself, yourself, and other people of the different races. I think it's time for them to understand the history, and if there's something that they believe is not right, speak up. I think that you have to speak up, and not only speak up, but to make it a point that this is not right. It is not what a civil society is about. I think that we need to be able to articulate and to raise that to the mainstream. I mean, within the ethnic society, the racial groups, they know what it is like to be treated unfairly. But it is our job to educate the mainstream, people like yourself, who are understanding of the different ethnicities and of their background and of their culture. They need to understand. So again, I'll go back to the reason why education is key. Educate, 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 and share those stories, because eventually people will hopefully understand. But you can never eradicate discrimination. You can never eradicate prejudice. That's in people. You may have it at the end of World War II. I guess there's supposed to be now a United Nations, people are all equals and being treated fairly. But another generation, there'll be another person like Hitler or somebody who does not believe in that sort of things. So it is a constant struggle. I think that we need to speak up. I think that we need to keep the pressure on so that everybody will understand that we do not tolerate prejudice, discrimination, and racial biases. That's my take on it. I hope that sort of give you some idea where I'm thinking.
No, thank you very much. And again, King, thank you for your service, sir. It's
No.
tremendous to know you and to be alongside you for many years. So
I know, same here too, Pascal. I'm so glad to see you today. It was such a pleasure for me.
Thank you, Commander. Thank you, Mr. Rodier. Anybody else? Okay.
Well, it's almost midnight in Pascal's time. You know, he should go to bed. I think it's past your bedtime. You look tired. And also, Mr. Wilder too. It's almost 11 o'clock at your time too.
Okay, if so, then, sir, I have the sincere honor to ask the very last question of the evening.
Okay.
So please answer with your heart and be truthful. What is your favorite ice cream?
I'm a very common guy, you know, that I like my vanilla ice cream. Anything just vanilla is fine for me. Very plain Jane type.
That's the only flavor you like?
Oh, I like strawberry too. Okay. And mango. And okay, I can go on and on, but I like ice cream, period.
That's better. That's better.
Sweet tooth.
Thank you, Commander.
Thank you. No, I really enjoy my my evening with all of you. It's such a pleasure to see so many young faces, and not so young faces too, and friends that I haven't seen for ages. I really enjoyed the interaction with you, all of you, because, you know, even though I'm not with St. John at the moment, there's always something here. in my heart that is part of me. And having served for so many years in the order, I am always a part of St. John's order. So thank you for having me.
Sir, thank you for your closing comments. Sir, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your spotlight on history and your important message and how it applies today. Do you have any last comments before we end the night?
Take care, keep well, and stay safe during this time of the pandemic. All of us need it. Get your shots when the time comes for you to get your shots. Some of the older guys got our first shot already, so I'm okay for now, but I'm waiting for my second shot. So, and be well. Stay safe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Liu, over to you.
Thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. An excellent Q&A session by our NCOs. A big thank you to Commander One for your wonderful presentation this evening to inspire everybody here. You never know, we may see some future aide-de-camps and community leaders from this group in the not too distant future. Let's give Commander One a big thumbs up. Fantastic, yes. And as you all know, this year is the 75th anniversary of Canada becoming a St. John Priory and the 110th anniversary for BC as a provincial St. John Council. We will continue to safely mark our double anniversary year with these engaging virtual events. We are extremely delighted to announce that our next guest for May 31st will help us close out and celebrate the 25th anniversary of Asian Heritage Month in BC with a bang. Mr. Sugith Varghese, who is a very talented Canadian director, writer, and actor of South Asian descent, will share his migration story and journey from Fraggle Rock to the Amazon hit show, The Expanse, and to playing Mr. Mehta, the best friend of Mr. Kim on the hit comedy show Kim's Convenience. So do join us. Speaking of productions, our own team here in Burnaby with PHQ are also in the middle of producing a video campaign to launch in June to encourage all our members to stay strong, as we can now see the light at the end of this very long tunnel of the pandemic. We invite all our members and guests to contribute a video clip by saying, "Stay strong, OneStJohn." And please email it to us by the end of this month. Thank you. This concludes our speaker series tonight. Thank you again for joining us this evening. Good night, stay well, and have a great week, everyone. Stay strong, OneStJohn.